Hello, ladies. Good afternoon. Been a little bit of a rush for me to get here. Take a breath. Okay, I want to start today with a sentence I hear all the time. Usually it comes with a little bit of frustration and quite often, complete bewilderment, sometimes defensiveness. The sentence is, but Sally, I eat really well. And I want to say something straight away. I believe you. I really do. Because most women I speak to aren't sitting there eating takeaways or 7 nights a week and then wondering why they aren't feeling fabulous. Quite the opposite. As women, we're pretty good at looking at what the trends are doing and what everyone else is doing. Often these women have been, all you women have been trying for years. The women that I talk to, they've been buying the vegetables, reading the labels, thinking about protein, cut back on sugar, reduced the wine, tried intermittent fasting, tried low carb, stopped eating after dinner, bought the supplements. They're doing the steps, maybe even going to the gym as well. And quite often they're putting more thought into food now than they ever have before. Yet they look at me and say, nothing is changing. The scales won't move. The middle has changed, that extra tire. The clothes don't fit the way they used to. The energy isn't what it was before. And eventually the thought becomes, what am I doing wrong? Or worse, what's wrong with me? And that's the conversation I want us to have today, because if you're already trying this hard, I don't think the most useful response is, well, try harder. No, there's a trap we fall into. And here's what tends to happen. Something isn't working. So we assume we need more of the thing we're already doing. I'm eating well. I'll eat cleaner. I'm exercising. I'll exercise more. I've reduced carbs. I'll cut them further. I'm fasting 14 hours. Okay, I might try 16. I'm watching my portions. Maybe I need to make it even smaller portions. And before long, looking after yourself has become an increasingly complicated set of rules. And the really frustrating part, you may still not feel any better. That's frustrating, I know. And that's when women start losing trust in their bodies. Because 20 years ago, they could just make a few changes and see a response. Now they make the same changes, sometimes much bigger changes, and nothing seems to happen. So they assume their body is broken, or the metabolism is broken, or menopause has just ruined everything, or they're simply not disciplined enough. And I want to interrupt that, because perhaps the problem isn't that you're failing to follow the rules. Perhaps we're asking the wrong question. I eat well is useful information. When women say to me, I eat really well, I don't sit there and go, I bet you don't. I believe you. But then I get curious, because I eat well tells me something useful. It doesn't tell me the whole story. I still want to know the details. I still want to know what eating well actually looks like for you. Because healthy can mean different things to different people. One woman might be eating beautifully nutritious food, but nowhere near enough of it. Another might be eating lots of vegetables and whole foods, but not enough protein. Another might be might have incredibly healthy smoothie for breakfast, but it's mainly fruit, and she's hungry again in an hour and a half later. Another may have been so frightened of carbs that she's cut out foods that could comfortably have a place on her plate. Another may be eating nutritious foods Monday to Friday and then her whole pattern changes across the weekend. That's not judgment, that's information. So yes, sometimes there's something in the food picture worth adjusting. But here's where I think we need to get much better at looking at women in midlife. I don't stop at the plate, because if food is only one piece of the puzzle, right, why would I expect changing food alone to explain everything? Because you know what? Diet is one piece of the puzzle, and within diet, food, what you put on your plate, is one piece of that piece of the puzzle. So I want to get more information. This is where the questions start getting broader. I want to know, are you sleeping? Are you still as strong as you were? Have you stopped strength training? Has an injury changed how much you're moving? Has your job become more sedentary? What's happening with stress? And I don't just mean, do you feel stressed? Because some of the most stressed women I meet tell me, I'm fine. And I can assure you now, there is a lot of women I've worked with that tell me that they're not stressed. But when I look at their symptom picture, their body is stressed. They're just managing, when was that? I'm just managing a business, aging parents, teenagers or adult children, a relationship, a household, and everyone else's emotional well-being. I'm fine. I want to know what's happened hormonally. Did this begin around perimenopause, after menopause, after stopping or starting medication? Did your cycle change? Did your step chart change first? Did your step count change? Like how much you're moving your body? Did your sleep change first? Did anxiety suddenly appear? What about digestion? Did that change? Your appetite, did that change? What medications are you taking? Has anything changed medically? And one of my favorite questions, what changed around the time your body stopped responding the way it used to? Because that's often where the story gets interesting. So let me show you why this matters. Imagine 3 different women sitting in front of me. All 3 say, I eat really well and I cannot shift this weight. Same complaint, same age group, same gender, but let's listen a little bit longer. Woman number 1, she tells me she eats beautifully, and she does. But then I discover she wakes at 3 o'clock most mornings. She's exhausted by the afternoon. She's relying on coffee to get going. Her job is relentless. She barely stops for lunch or rarely really, and she hasn't felt properly rested for the last 3 years. Am I immediately going to hand her a stricter diet? No. I've got a lot more questions for her. Then there's woman number 2. She's also eating beautifully. She sleeps really well. Her stress isn't particularly high. But over the last about 5 years, she stopped going to the gym. She had a couple of injuries. She's moving less. She's lost some strength. And she's noticed everyday things that used to be easy aren't quite as easy anymore. Now, I'm interested in what happened to muscle and movement, because maintaining muscle becomes increasingly important as we move through midlife. Again, same complaint, different place I want to investigate. And then there's woman number 3. She's eating well, she's exercising, she's doing all the right things. But when we start mapping her timeline, something doesn't quite fit. She changed. The change was relatively sudden. Maybe, fatigue appeared at the same time. Her digestion changed. She was feeling the cold. Maybe a medication change. Maybe there are symptoms that deserve proper medical attention. I'm not going to tell that woman, just eat less and move more. I want to understand what else is going on. And depending on what she's telling me, that may include something like, I think this is, depending on what she's saying, I might be thinking, I think this needs to be investigated medically. Maybe it's thyroid. Maybe it's iron levels. Maybe it's adrenal. Maybe it can be a lot of things, but we need to, medicine's like a process of elimination. We have to ask the right questions, because responsible whole person care isn't about blaming everything on menopause or cortisol or insulin or thyroid. It's knowing when we don't have enough information. And I can absolutely 100% say, after 40 years of clinical experience, knowing what questions to ask to get the information you need is where we need to look at, what we need to look at. Okay. So all 3 women could have Googled, why can't I lose weight after 40? All 3 could receive the same list: eat more protein, walk 10,000 steps, lift weights, sleep for 8 hours, manage your stress, eat fiber, and more of those things inherently, and none of these things are inherently ridiculous. They're all important, but which one matters most for her? Because whatever changes you make, they're going to have to be sustainable. And if you've got a list of 100 things, it's not going to happen. You need to know what lever to pull for you at this point in time. So which one matters most? What's actually changed? What deserves attention first? What's just background noise? What needs investigation? What have you already tried? What happened when you tried it? That's the difference between information and interpretation. And we are all drowning in information. I don't think most women need another 47 things they could be doing or could give a try. They need help understanding, what does my particular pattern mean? Then, there's another part of this that fascinates me. Yes, I'm a nerd. Sometimes we've become so focused on eating well that food has become another place where we're constantly grading ourselves or degrading ourselves. Good breakfast, bad lunch, good day, bad weekend. I was good all week. I fell off the wagon. I shouldn't have eaten that. I'll make up for it tomorrow. I think we live in it. I think we need to be really careful, because the goal isn't to become the woman who follows the most food rules. The goal is to have a way, right, of eating that supports your body and works in your life, right? Your real life, your actual life, with family, with restaurants, with holidays, with busy weekends, busy Wednesdays, grandchildren turning up unexpectedly, Christmas, birthdays, a glass of wine if you choose to have one, a bloody biscuit with your cup of tea sometimes. That's life. And if your health strategy only works when life is perfectly controlled, it's probably not much of a strategy. So, what do I want you to do with this? I'm deliberately not going to give you another list of foods to cut out today. Instead, I want you to do something really useful, much more useful than taking out more things. If you've been thinking, I eat really well, why isn't anything changing? Take a piece of paper and rather than writing down everything you've eaten, write down what changed. Go back to when you first noticed your body wasn't responding the way it used to. What else was happening around then? Did your periods change? Did your sleep change? Did your stress change? Did your activity change? Did you stop strength training? Was there an illness or an injury? You know, that tendonitis, that plantar fasciitis, that frozen shoulder. Was there a medication change? Did your digestion change? Did your appetite change? Did your life change? Have a look, have a think, write that down, and then think, ask yourself, what changed first? Not because that automatically gives you the answer, it doesn't, but it starts moving you away from what am I doing wrong and towards what is the pattern here? And that is a much more useful place to begin. So this is really what we've been talking about throughout August. We started with, why can't I lose weight anymore? Then, why has it all gone to my middle? Then, why am I always hungry or craving sugar? And now, I eat really well. Why isn't anything changing? And hopefully you're starting to see the thread running through all 4 conversations. It's not, here's the one reason women gain weight after 40. Because I don't believe there is only one reason. It's the same symptom, right? Doesn't automatically mean the same story. 2 women can have the same complaint, and I may want to ask completely different questions. And that's why this month's masterclass is also important. On Wednesday night, I'm taking this conversation much deeper in the masterclass. Right? Eating cold, eating well, moving more, still not shifting. Why the same weight problem doesn't always have the same cause. Because if you're listening today and thinking, okay, Sally, but how do I know which of these things is happening to me? That's exactly the point. You can't necessarily know from one symptom alone. And that's what I want to show you. We'll look at women who appear to have the same problem on the surface, but when we start asking better questions, very different stories emerge. And I want you to start seeing your own symptoms differently too. Not as evidence that your body has failed you, not as proof you need to try harder, but as information, clues, pieces of a bigger picture. So if you've spent the last few years bouncing between, maybe it's my hormones, maybe it's cortisol, maybe it's insulin resistance, maybe I need to cut out carbs, maybe I need more protein, maybe I need another supplement, then if you're wondering all those things, come to the masterclass on Wednesday night, because before we decide what to do, we need to understand what we're actually looking at. And that conversation, I think, women have been missing. So ladies, before I go, I'd love you to tell me in the comments, when you think back to when your body first started changing, what else was happening around that time? Let me know in the comments. It might help somebody else remember something or recognize something. You don't have to know whether it's connected, just notice it. Because sometimes the thing we have been trying hardest to fix isn't where the story began. I look forward to seeing many of you on Wednesday night. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Okay, ladies, hope this has shed some light and get you curious about what's happening for you.